Given that we're running out of time in the slot, unless anybody else has something urgent, I'd like to give the floor to Alex to recap ENS soft launch experiences.
Okay, so we just recently were able to add ENS support on this. I'm very happy with it. So Mist right now supports ENS both in the wallet when you send a field and on the URL field. So you can actually already use some apps on Swarm, and we're very happy with the result. I think if I was going to recap things that went wrong and things that went right, I think I'm very happy. Thing that I'm very happy is that with the current dispute process, I believe the names became very expensive. I mean, contested names became expensive, which means that I believe that squatting names becomes expensive and hard to be profitable. And I'm happy that it became this way. And a few things didn't happen as I expected. One of the things that surprised me the most was the amount of names that were already registered. I entered the whole idea with the purpose, with one assumption that names were basically infinite, that we always have new names to register. And it's sort of, yes, it's true, we do have new names to register, but it's clear that the dictionary names are basically all gone, since almost all of them are being registered for the minimum price. I think that's an interesting discovery for me. I expected that we would have disputed names until like forever, because at some point we would start releasing names and they would enter in dispute. And I think that's important, because one of my visions with the permanent registrar would be that one good way to stop squatting is measure squatting by comparing the average value of a name with your name, right? And at some point I would need to have some way of measuring what is the average value of an ENS name, right? And my hope was that we could use disputed names for that, right? Because I imagine that we would always be able, most names would not be being registered by the minimum price. And the idea would be that if you can keep a track of how those names change, those value changes, then we can have and compare with other names, and we can have a good idea if someone is squatting a name or not. And if we don't have that, then sort of what I had in mind for a permanent register kind of needs to change. But we don't have a way to measure an average cost of names. And that's maybe something we can talk more later about permanent registers. But other than that, I was very happy with the whole experience, and it was very interesting to see that what I believe is the first large use case was smart contract being used. There's a anecdote that Taylor told me once, that one of their users was asking her how to buy a name, and his idea was that he just got the name of the hash, put it on the name field, and said, "Okay, look, I just need to send money to this address," right? Which is completely nonsense. And it's completely nonsense until you think like the user thinks, right?
No, it's so
right. Wait,
yes, you're right.
Right now, every single interaction the users ever had was they send money to something, and they want to interact with something, they just send money to it, right? ICOs are that way. Even like a lot of actions are that way. A lot of pre-Ethereum, like old Bitcoin style interacting with things was that if you want to vote on carbon vote, you just send Ether to a place. So everywhere, so the fact is most users had never used the bytecode data field before. They were only using this to field and the value field. That's sort of the first time a lot of them were using anything that was not a simple send transaction. And I think it's sort of scary that we have so many users and so many use cases, and that a lot of people haven't used that. But it's interesting that I think this is the first really smart property that most users will own now.